Alright, so I'm gonna try to do something really crazy right now. I just saw Endgame last night at 11. I'm going off of 3 hours of sleep, so I'm really tired. But I'm planning, because I didn't release a review or like a blog or my thoughts kind of thing on Infinity War last year. So I'm hoping to share my thoughts on Infinity War and Endgame within the same video. And hopefully I'll probably have to like chop them up so like one is one and the other is the other. But I just like the idea of sharing my thoughts on both, and I think it would help. Because I saw it, and I was probably more prepared for Infinity War than I was for Endgame, like in terms of preparation. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it, man. It's a lot to talk about. So going back to April of 2018, I was finishing up my classes for the semester, and the release date of Infinity War kind of coincided with my finals week. So it was a busy time. But before the movie dropped, I went back and I watched every single movie leading up to Infinity War. So I started with Iron Man, then the Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man 3, all the ones that came after that, Dark World, all leading all the way up to Infinity War, Black Panther being the last one. So yeah, that was actually a lot of fun. I had a really good time going back and doing that. It was a hectic process though, just having to like find every single one. Some of them were like free on demand, some of them I had to like find on Netflix, some of them were at my library, so I did that, and that kind of prepared me. And then in addition to that, I also went back and read, it's funny, I started reading Infinity War, the comic by Jim Starlin, and I was like, I don't really know what's happening. Like, this is not, I think this is right, but I feel like I missed something. So I went online and I looked up the Infinity series by Jim Starlin and like the chronology of those books, and I came to find out, Infinity War is actually like the sequel to Infinity Gauntlet, which is essentially what both Endgame and Infinity War, the movies, are based on. So I went back to Infinity Gauntlet and read that all the way through. Really loved it, and it got me hyped because I was like, dude, there's just so much potential with this particular book to do all kinds of cool stuff. And I mean, the potential in the character of Thanos, dude, I'm just like, golly, there's so many opportunities to do some really cool things. So between reading those books to going through all the movies, man, I came into the Infinity War, the movie, very excited but also very tired because again it coincided with my finals week, and I had just finished a final that morning when the movie dropped. And so I'll say this about my first viewing because I didn't talk about it then, because again it was finals week, I was tired, I had a lot going on, had an internship I was doing at the time. So I just never had a really good opportunity to like actually share my thoughts about how I felt about it. But the first time I saw it, man, honestly, I was overwhelmed. And that kind of made my experience a little negative. Like, I got really, for one, I thought it was going to be a little more cohesive. I did not see the ending coming of, like, everybody, half of the humanity and everything being taken out. Even though that's in Infinity Gauntlet, the comic, I didn't really think they were going to go there in Infinity War. Yeah, that was not, I didn't think that they were going to pull that off, but yeah. So there was that, the whole idea of like having different characters in different realms, because you have like groups, right? You got Iron Man, the Guardians, and Spider-Man on Titan. You got Cap and basically the rest of the Avengers in Wakanda. And then you got Thor, Groot, and Rocket Raccoon out trying to find the new hammer. And they got to a point right around the midpoint of the movie, I think, as Thanos' forces begin to make their way into Wakanda, which I guess is kind of the end of the movie. There was a point in my first viewing where I just kind of I was like, dude, there's too much happening right now. I can't, mentally, I just can't handle this right now. I'm trying to connect the dots, because like everything's happening at the same time. So like when they're on Wakanda, I'm thinking, all right, what's Thor doing right now? Oh yeah. Then you go back to Thor, and it's like, all right, well, what is Iron Man? What are they doing on Titan? What's happening with Doctor Strange and them on Titan? So like I just got to like really, really overwhelmed, and I was like, dude, I can't handle this. This is too much. So again, that kind of made my first viewing. Yeah, my brain. There was a point I said like my brain just kind of went like I can't do this. And then the ending happened, and I was like, wow, okay. And it's cool because like again, reading the comics helps, and like having a knowledge of the previous movies helped me a lot, because I remember when Scarlet Witch destroyed Vision's stone for the first time, and it was like, everybody in the theater, but like, not, I don't know about everybody, but a lot of people in the theater were like, yeah, yeah, go ahead, like, yeah. I was like, y'all need to chill out. Like, you've forgotten a very important element in this, and that's the fact that he had the time stone. And I was like, I wasn't phased. So yeah. So and as far as the ending goes, I thought it was very well executed, man. My only issue was that, like, and this is kind of just a product of the way that the world works. Like, we knew they announced that they're gonna make Guardians 3, and there's gonna be Black Panther 2 and Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man 2, and like, so you knew that I feel like the deaths didn't have as much weight as a result. So even like, I think Spider-Man was the only one that I really felt emotionally like, dang. And I mean, the tone of the whole last scene definitely had me in a low place, but again, I feel like it kind of lessened the blow knowing that those other movies were gonna get made without a doubt. And so it's like, you know, they're not dead for good, but like just seeing them go was rough, and especially with Spider-Man. So yeah, I thought it was a bold ending. I loved like the last shot of the movie, him sitting on the porch. Like that's straight homage to the comics, man. The Jim Starlin, because the last panel is literally Thanos. He's in his little comfortable clothing, like his farmer clothes, and he's on the porch and he's just like chilling. So that was epic. And so yeah, at my first viewing, I was very critical, and I was like, dude, I gotta go see this again, because like I just feel like there's just too much going on. And I was also disappointed because I wanted more Cap. I thought Captain America wasn't in it as much as I wanted him to be. But then I watched the interviews. Again, like, you kind of have to give it a chance. You got to wait and see what they do. I saw interviews between the two directors, the Russo brothers, and they both said, hey, like, it's fair to assume, on the fan standpoint, that if certain characters in Infinity War didn't get as much screen time in Endgame, they probably will. And so I said, all right, cool. As long as that was totally intentional and not just something they were like, yeah, we got too much going on and these characters are more important and we want to give them more screen time. And so that leads me then, I guess I'll move on. Well, so yeah, after all the repeated viewings, I guess I should give a rating. Let me pause and see what my rating scale looks like again. I've forgotten. It's been a while since I've done this. So on my scale, I think for Infinity War, I would probably give it, this is hard. I'd say a strong 8. Because I did have issues. I had some problems. I said some of them there. Any other issues? There are little nitpicky things that I had issues with. But overall, I mean, I really should be giving it a 9. But I'm going to tell you, I think my explanation of my thoughts on Endgame will kind of justify my reason to not give it that particular score. But yeah. Just when you think, like, oh, there's no way you could do this. Like, there's no way you could have this many characters on screen and make it work, make it cohesive, give every character, like, a spot, something to do. No one feels useless or expendable. Like, just when you think that, like, yeah, so they did it, and I was like, wow. So that's my thing. It's like, even if, like, it's a lot going on, they pulled it off and they actually did it right, and, like, every character feels like they are themselves. Okay, so I'll say one nitpicky thing I had an issue with. Some of the CG didn't really fly that well for me. I thought all the time Spider-Man, Peter Parker was on Titan, it all looked really artificial to me. And I know his costume was mostly all CG, which kind of bothered me. Because it just didn't feel real. Anytime I saw it, like, it looked like a floating head on a video game body. So that kind of bothered me. And then I didn't like how Tony's armor was nanotech. It just looked fake again, and that even got more intensified when I went back, because I went back and watched Iron Man, and you go from like when every little piece of the machinery was shown in close-ups, like positioning itself in the right place, like that meticulous, careful detail, to like, oh no, now it's just like it just floats. It's just like a oozing little thing of like whatever you call them. Like, to see the suit, basically just a CG, like, produce itself, I was like, yeah, I kind of missed the old school, like, mechanically seeing everything happen. But, yeah, again, that's a nitpicky thing. Overall, again, if that's the worst issue you could have, I think that's not too bad. So, again, I gave it a strong 8, almost a 9, which 8 for me is great. So it was a great movie. Great at doing what it had to do. And the ending was super bold and super, man, it talk about building anticipation. It was like Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, man, like I remember in the credits, when the credits rolled, so many people in the audience were just like, no, there's no way, this is it. But yeah.